There is nothing more tantalising to the human species than a good mystery. Thrillers in the forms of novels, movies, and even campfire tales are often consumed by the thousands who love the adrenaline rush of solving a mystery. However, some of the most pervasive mysteries are those that occur in real life, and these are the ones that are often most difficult to solve. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be looking at 3 instances where people disappeared and answers were never found. The Bloody Benders. It is rare that people that take lives often work together, let alone in a group of multiples. However, when it came to the Bender family from Labette County, Kansas, it seemed that they were part of the family business. The group, which consisted of John Bender and his wife Elvira Bender, along with their son John Jr. and daughter Kate, operated for roughly a year and a half from 1871 to 1872. For such a short amount of time, the Bender family, also known as the Bloody Benders, managed to claim an astonishing number of victims. They took the lives of at least a dozen people, and some believe this number is actually much higher before they were caught. The family were spiritualists who homesteaded on 160 acres bordering the Great Osage Trail, which was the only option for anyone traveling west. They built the basic buildings required for homesteading, including a barn and fencing, a well, and a cabin. The cabin was divided into 2 rooms, and the family lived in the back room and operated a mercantile general store of sorts that sold dry goods and a few basic supplies. As one of the final stops on the journey west, travellers would often join the family for a meal and spend the night before setting off into the frontier once again. The 2 older Benders did not speak much English and were generally regarded as incredibly unfriendly by neighbours, while John Jr. was more fluent and friendly but still kept to himself. Kate spoke English fluently and operated a psychic business of sorts, where she claimed to be able to speak to the people that had passed away, cure illnesses, and other supernatural powers. She was infinitely more popular with the locals and frequently gave lectures about spiritualism and free love. Kate and John Jr. also regularly attended Sunday school in town, although the standoffish elder Benders rarely joined. Earlier records also indicate that Elvira may have eliminated several husbands before she married John Sr. Between the years 1871 and 1872, the Bender family would invite travellers into their home for dinner, where they would strike them with a hammer and render them unconscious, before hiding the bodies in a cellar for later disposal. Sometimes the bodies were buried in the orchard on the family land, while others were dumped in nearby Drum Creek and attributed to vandals and horse thieves when they were found. They soon had claimed so many victims that the area of the Great Osage Trail gained a reputation as an area to be avoided by travellers. The alarming rate of disappearances in the area without any coordinating bandit attacks or sightings led the neighbours to suspect there was someone taking the lives of others. They decided to hold a meeting and concluded that a search of the buildings around the Drum Creek area was required. Hearing this, the Benders fled, and subsequent searches of the house and property revealed multiple bodies as well as bloody tools. Thus condemned, rewards were posted for their arrests, but they had already gotten a substantial head start. The Bloody Benders were tailed for months by detectives and vigilantes, and incomplete records from their flight across the country have differing tales of the outcome. Some say that the vigilantes caught up to the family and shot them, while others said they were lynched, finished off, and buried or burned while they were still alive. In either case, it is agreed upon that they were never definitively found, and sightings of suspected Benders continued for several decades, leaving everyone to wonder what had become of this terrible family. Joshua Maddox. Joshua Maddox was a normal 18-year-old who lived in the Pike National Forest in Teller County, Colorado in 2008. He loved nature and hiking, so when he left to go on a walk one day, nobody thought anything of it until he failed to return that night. His disappearance sparked searches all over the area for months, hoping to uncover Josh safe and sound, or at least get some answers as to what might have happened to him. However, he was never found and continued to be listed as a missing person for years. In a seemingly unrelated course of events, in 2015, a builder who owned an old, decaying cabin in the woods that had been abandoned for over 10 years decided to demolish it in order to begin developing the land that it stood on. Before demolition, the builder came out to check that everything was in order and entered the cabin for the first time in many years. He noticed a smell of rot and decay in the cabin, but attributed it to the many animals who made the decrepit building their home in the intervening years. However, when demolition began, starting with taking apart the chimney to reuse the bricks, workers were horrified to discover that there was a body of a young man inside the chimney, which was likely the source of the smell. The police and coroner were called to investigate and remove the body, and his dental records positively identified it as the body of Joshua Maddox. Maddox was found in a fetal position, with his legs curled up under his chest and his feet above his head, leading investigators to hypothesize that he might have gotten stuck in an attempt to enter the abandoned building and explore. Although the coroner agreed with this guess, as the autopsy did not reveal any trauma or suspicious substances and ruled the end of his life as accidental, there are those who disagree. For example, a heavy metal grate covering the chimney had disappeared and a heavy breakfast bar had been forcibly removed from the wall and dragged in front of the chimney to cover it. Additionally, many thought it was odd that Joshua would have voluntarily entered the chimney head first, and his clothing was found folded inside of the cabin next to the fireplace. He had only been wearing a thin thermal shirt when he entered the chimney. Despite several tip-offs and leads claiming that Joshua was finished off, the police were never able to determine what had actually happened, and the case remains a mystery to this day. Russell Hill and Carol Clay. Russell Hill and Carol Clay were two campers in their 70s on an illicit trip to a remote campground in March of 2020. The pair were rumoured to be high school sweethearts. However, Russell Hill was married to another woman, who was unaware that he would be doing anything but taking a solitary camping trip. The pair were discovered missing when their campsite was found abandoned, with Russell's vehicle still there, having suffered minor fire damage. They had been camping together at the Wonongatta campground, but other than their burnt-out campground, there was no sign of them anywhere. Police and volunteers searched the area around the campsite for weeks, with nothing to indicate what might have happened. Eventually, they found a pair of shovels hidden in undergrowth, and it was thought that they might have been used in foul play surrounding the disappearance of the pair, but nothing has come of the forensic analysis thus far. Although the searches have moved back and forth within 80 kilometers of the campground, it is astonishing that nothing has yet been found to indicate what could have happened, and the 15 intervening months will have only further muddled any evidence that there might have been. However, the search continues as investigators follow even the slightest of leads, which they hope will lead them to Russell and Carol and give their families back home some closure. After interrogating anyone who was in the area during the dates that the pair went missing, investigators have not been able to take any theories off the table, although they have said that they believe that somebody else might have been involved in the disappearances. One camper reported finding a lime green arrow near the campsite, leading some to form the theory that a hunter with an infrared camera mistakenly shot at them and, in a panic to hide his crime, buried the bodies. The remote area does have a long history of missing persons, and anything could have happened as the pair camped in the wilderness in the midst of hunters and vulnerable to thieves and burglars. With no cell service and nobody near to call for help, some think that they might have fallen prey to a pack of vicious wild dogs in the area or fallen down in the craggy rocks of the unforgiving landscape. The Australian bush culture is alive and well in the remote area, and many believe that nefarious and supernatural forces might be at play. However, these theories do not explain the sheer lack of evidence surrounding the disappearance or the burned-out campsite. There are no forensic remains indicating an attack or an accident, and it seems as though the pair simply got up and wandered off. Although the investigation is still ongoing, investigators are no closer to discovering what happened to Russell Hill and Carol Clay today than they were when they were first reported missing, and the vast and unforgiving landscape will likely keep the secret of what happened hidden within its depths forevermore. But what do you make of these 3 mysteries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.